In this video, we're going to learn how to find the area and perimeter of parallelograms. So as a reminder, parallelograms are the shape that has four sides, and then opposite sides are always parallel. So this side right here is parallel to this one right here, and this side right here is always parallel to this one right here. And those opposite sides are congruent, which means that they're the same length. And we know some shapes that we're more used to working with that are also actually types of parallelograms. Rectangles are always parallelograms, and so are squares are always parallelograms. So when we find the perimeter of a parallelogram, it's the same process that we do for rectangles or triangles or compound shapes. We just need to add up all the sides. I do want us just to think for a moment about what that actually means though. Or how we could kind of think about that algebraically. So if we say that on a parallelogram, opposite sides are congruent, that means that both of these would be length A, and both of these would be length B, because the opposite sides have to be the same. And so then we could write our perimeter as A plus B plus A plus B. Or we could write it as 2A plus 2B. Or we could factor it and write it as 2 times A plus B. Many of you came into 6th grade already being really comfortable with this formula for perimeter. And I don't see many of you using this last one very often, but often it's easier, although it's not going to make a whole lot of difference. But it's interesting just to see how some of those ideas we've been working on this year can be applied. So for example, if we say that, I'm going to take away the A and the B's. If we say that the A side was 5 and the B side was 8, we could do that perimeter equals 2 times 5 plus 8, or 2 times 13, which is 26 units. All right, now let's think about area. So we're going to take that same parallelogram and we need to decide what to do with area here. So what we're going to notice always works with parallelograms is that if you chop off one of the sides to make a triangle and move that piece over here and kind of swivel it around and rotate it, you can add it back in and you will end up with a nice rectangle. And a rectangle is really easy to find the area of. So then we just need to figure out, how can I know what those dimensions would be from the parallelogram? Well, we can see that the length here is the same, or we often would call it the base. I'll call it B for base. That's going to be this length here. And then we also need a height, which is the same as this triangle's height right here, or any of the heights in between, like that. So since our original parallelogram had a base of 8, and then that slant side was 5, but we don't want that. We want the length going up and down, which happens to be 4. So then the area of a parallelogram is the base times the height, which is different from that slant side length. And in this case, that would be 8 times 4, or 32 units squared. So let's kind of draw out what that looks like on a triangle or on a parallelogram that I haven't completely butchered. So let's go draw it with me. please. And we're going to label that the base is either the top or the bottom. And then the height is the height of the parallelogram. That's our height there. All right, let's now do it all at once. Let's find the area and perimeter of this parallelogram. First, we need some measurements. So let's say that one side of the parallelogram is 3 and the other is 5.5. So to find the perimeter, we know that this is 3 plus 5.5 plus 3 plus 5.5, or we could use one of our more efficient methods. Either way, we're going to get that the perimeter is equivalent to 6 plus 11, or 17 units. And now to do the area, it could be tempting to do 3 times 5.5, but that wouldn't work because our base is 3, but our height isn't on here yet because our height is straight up and down from top to bottom. It's not that slant side. And that on this one is only 5. So our area is going to be 3 times 5. And that gives us 15 units squared. All right, for your practice problem, I need you to find the area and perimeter of this parallelogram. Make sure to sketch it in your paper before you do your work so that when we go over it in class tomorrow, we can look at it if needed.